All, are you able to see the screen? Anurag, Ajmer, can anyone verify? Then we can start the session. Okay, thank you, Anurag. So we have done with this tutorial one, and I hope you all are able to solve the assignment one of this current course. And today we are going to see this assignment number 2, and this is from the same module, introduction, overview, and load modeling. And in the next session, we will see about the structure of our distribution system. So let us start today's session. So uh, we have seen about load factor in the last session. So just we will quickly revise about the load factor and some of the uh, concepts regarding the previous assignment, previous session, and then we will come to this today's session. So the module 1 is load characteristics and load management. And how do we define the load factor? Load factor is the ratio of average demand to the peak demand. And this one is the important characteristics for to see this to see the load characteristics. And if you see among the domestic, commercial, industrial, and agricultural loads, domestic loads have highest load factor, approximately 10 to 15%, while the industrial loads have highest load factor. Sorry, domestic loads have lowest load factor, approximately in the range of 10 to 15%, while the industrial loads have highest load factor in the range of 60 to 65%. And higher load factor always preferred for utility, and it means that we are having the average demand and peak demand should be close to each other. So the load factor, if you know the load factor, you can also write the expression for daily load factor. Daily load factor is daily energy consumed on peak demand to 24 hours. So in a day we have 24 hours. So we are dividing the daily energy consumption in a day by 24 to get the average demand of the day. So similarly, we can also find the annual load factor, that total energy consumed in a year, and how many number of hours in a year. One year is equal to 365 days, and in one day we have 24 hours. So we are having 8,760 hours. So we will get if you divide the total annual energy consumption by 8,760, you will get the average demand for the year, and if you divide it by peak demand, then you will get the annual load factor. So, so this is all about the load factor. And while solving problem, they may write the energy consumption in the form of unit. So it is very simple. If they have, in the problem they are writing 1 unit of energy, then it means that 1 kilowatt hour. And in our household also, this utility company charge the electricity based upon the unit consumption. And we can understand that 1 unit consumption means 1 kilowatt hour consumption. So next part is the load curve and load duration curve. We have seen this load curve and load duration curve in the last session. And what do you mean by load curve? Load curve is the variation of electrical load with the time. And the plot of load demand with respect to time is known as the load curve. And if you arrange this electrical load demand in descending order based on the load magnitude, it will form load duration curve. So First, you know the load curve, and then from the load curve, we can draw the load duration curve. So it is a reordered form of load curve. So load duration you cannot find independently. First, you should know the load curve, and then you have to rearrange. You can say that the reordered form of load curve based on the descending order of load magnitude. So it means that both the area under load curve and area under load duration curve equal to amount of energy consumption. And one problem we have seen that how we can find the number of nodes or number of lines, whatever the data given in the problem. So in the Bell distribution system, number of nodes equal to number of lines plus one. So it is simple like if you are having two nodes, that means you have one distribution line. And if you have three nodes, that means you are having two distribution line for radial distribution system. And then we have seen the difference between transmission and distribution network. So the major difference in transmission and distribution networks are transmitter network are of mesh type, while the distribution network are of radial type. And the load is are of relatively balanced in transmitter network, while they are unbalanced in distribution network because many of the loads are of single phase type. And then the lines are transposed in transmission network and non-transposed in distribution network. We have seen the transposition, why we do transposition in transmission network. So if you want to get balanced voltage at the receiving end, we have to do the transposition in long transmission network, like the lines which are more than 100 kilometer. And then we have then in term of power losses, we have low power loss in transmission network, while high power loss in distribution network, because in transmitter network we have high we deliver the power at higher voltage level, so the current is low, then this power loss is also low. The fault occurrence is less in transmission while the distribution network fault occurrence is more. And Rx by S ratio is lower in transmission network while it is higher in distribution network. So today we are having less attendance. So if you feel any trouble or if you have any doubt, you can interrupt me and you can ask your problem. You can ask your query. We will start solving problem soon. Just before that, we are just revising the theory and concept and some expression that we are going to use in the tutorial. So coming to the next part, we have seen the electrical load definition. So we don't characterize the load based upon the means like the resistance value or impedance value. We we define the load based on the amount of power or energy consumption. So an electrical load is a device which consumes certain amount of power energy to accomplish certain task. It is very important. We don't define load based on its impedance or resistance. We define the load based upon the amount of energy or power consumption to accomplish the certain task. And on the based on the dependency of voltage, we having three major types of loads. First one is constant power load. So power is constant regardless of voltage. If we are having higher voltage, then current reduce so that power becomes constant. If you are having lower voltage, then current will be more to having this constant power. And the typical example for constant power is electrical motors. Now, if you see constant current load, in this current is constant, so power is directly proportional to voltage. And examples are welding units, smelting, and electroplating processes. And the third one is constant impedance load. In this constant impedance, if you write power is directly proportional to VI and current is, we can write V upon Z. So power is directly proportional to V square. So for constant impedance load, power is proportional to voltage squared. And the example for this constant impedance load is incandescent lighting resistive water heaters. So moving to the today's assignment, today's tutorial. So in today's tutorials, we have to know some other expression apart from the load factor. In the last tutorial, the only one expression is important, that is load factor. Load factor is average demand upon, we have seen, average demand upon peak demand or maximum demand. So load factor is the ratio of average demand to the peak demand or maximum demand. Now in today's tutorial, we have some other expression like diversity factor. So diversity factor is the sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. So this is very important. Diversity factor is sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. So can anyone tell this diversity factor should be less than 1 or greater than 1? Yes, can anyone tell means diversity factor is greater than 1 or less than 1? You can reply in the chat box or you can speak also. So I am asking, it is very simple. Means I am asking about the diversity factor. So diversity factor will be less than 1 or greater than 1. Yes, yes, good. So Syam, you are correct. It will be greater than 1. Syam and Rag, both are correct. So it is saying the sum of individual peak demand and the group peak demand. And so it will be always greater than 1. Diversity factor will be greater than 1. So the individual means if we are having one feeder and they are providing power to the many customers and each customers having the different peak demand, and irrespective of the individual peak demand, we have different group peak demand with that feeder. Like means we are making the load curve for the feeder separately, and we are making the load curve for the individual separately. So in that case, we can see that means group peak demand will always lesser than sum of individual peak demand. So this diversity factor is always greater than 1, while this coincidence factor is the reciprocal of diversity factor, and this is less than 1. So if you know this diversity factor, then to find the coincidence factor, it is very easy, and coincidence factor will be less than 1. So here one important thing also, you can write this sum of individual peak demand as non-coincidence demand. Now we have another expression, demand factor. So what do you mean by demand factor? Demand factor is the ratio of maximum demand to the total connected load. And this demand factor is always less than equal to 1. Now another expression is the load diversity. So load diversity is the subtraction of sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. So if you know the diversity factor is the ratio of sum of individual peak demand on the group peak demand. So you have to just subtract the denominator by the numerator, you will get the load diversity. So this expression you need to memorize to solve the problems. So, so in summary, what are the expression we have seen? We have seen the load factor. Load factor is the ratio of average demand upon peak demand. Then we have seen the diversity factor. Diversity factor is the sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. And non-coincidence demand is same as the same name for the sum of individual peak demand, and diversity factor is always greater than 1. Then the other term come coincidence factor. Coincidence factor is the reciprocal of diversity factor. So coincidence factor will be less than 1. And then another term come demand factor. Demand factor is maximum demand upon total connected load. And then we have another term load diversity. Load diversity is sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. Now we can also write the peak demand of the group in the terms of contribution factor. So we having say, individual peak demand for different customers or different consumers given like P1 max, P2 max, and the contribution factor for that customers or consumers is also given C1, C2 respectively. So we can also write the group demand for that group for the aggregate that are connected to the same feeder or for the same area. So this peak demand of group is written as C1 into P1 max plus C2 into P2 max and so on. And this PGR max is same as group peak demand, aggregate peak demand or coincidence peak demand. So it is same name for all the things. Like group peak demand, if we are saying group peak demand, that is you can also say aggregate peak demand or you can also say coincidence peak demand. While we have seen in the previous slide, this non-coincidence demand. Non-coincident demand means sum of individual peak demand. While this coincident demand, that is group peak demand. So just uh, keep in mind what is the difference between non-coincidence peak demand and coincident peak demand. So constant peak demand is the aggregated peak demand or group peak demand, while non-constant demand is the sum of individual peak demand. Now you can also find the calculation of contribution factor if they are provided the table for finding the load curve. Means for the different load duration they have given the consumption of power. So based on the table you can also find the calculation of you can find the contribution factor by following these two steps. The first step is that you have to find the time instant at which the group peak demand is occurring. Like group peak demand is occurring at some instant of time. So based on that instant of time, you can find the class contribution factor by using this expression. And the expression is this one. So class demand at the time of system peak, we know the time at which peak demand is occurring. So at that time, what is the peak demand for that individual or for that class? And it is divided by the class non-constant maximum demand. Means individually how much maximum demand is occurring by that class or that individual. You have to divide by that. So we'll get the class contribution factor. And then we are having this another expression loss factor. Loss factor is the ratio of average power loss to the power loss at peak load demand. So it is similar to load factor. So load factor is the average demand upon peak demand, while this loss factor is the average power loss and power loss at the peak load demand. So if you know the load factor, you can also find the loss factor in the terms of losses. Still here any doubt or anything you want to ask? So the important point here.
Hello,
Yes,
sir. Good evening.
good evening.
Can you repeat the class contribution factor again? Means denominator is class non-coincidence maximum demand is at that time or the maximum demand? Class non-coincident maximum demand.
Okay, means you are asking about the class non-constant maximum demand,
Yes, sir.
right?
Right.
So this is uh, we
Means
have
when?
written. You can say that it is individual peak demand.
Yeah. At that time when class demand at that time system peak or the maximum demand.
We will see one example based on this, but
Okay.
right now I can tell that this is individual peak demand. Means like uh, we know that this maximum demand for the group is not occurring at the same time when this
Yeah.
individual is having the maximum demand, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, so after knowing the time instant at which this peak demand is occurred, so suppose that it is happening at 2 to 3 p.m. This group peak demand is 50 megawatt
Okay.
or 50 kilowatt, you can say. And individual peak demand is like 2, 3, 4 at that time instant. Like if you are having uh, 4 groups or 4 classes. If you are having 4 classes, then you can write 10, 5, 20, and then 20, 30 plus 5, 35, and then it will be 15. So
Okay.
like so this is the peak demand for
Yeah.
that for whole the group.
Hold the
So we are
group.
yeah. So for like if you are finding the contribution factor for this first group for the first
Then it
system.
will be divided by 10.
No, so it will be 10. Numerator will be 10, right? because we are finding the time instant at with the class demand at time of system peak. So numerator will be 10 only, and
Okay.
denominator will be P1 max.
Okay. Understand.
And C2 will be like this one. C2 will be 5 upon C2 max, P1 max or P2 max. So it will be different. Means like based on this time. So this is time duration 2 to 3 p.m. It may happen 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So this P1 max may be like 15 or 20 anything, and P2 may be different. So we will there is one example based on this class contribution factor. This time in the tutorial, in the assignment, they have not asked this question based on how you can find from the table. But the last 2 years, they are asking based on the table how you can find the class contribution factor. And this has not been covered in the lecture, online lecture. So we have provided in the assignment solution, and we are also covering in the this tutorial session. Coming to the today's assignment. So let us come to the first assignment. So the first problem. This is common data for question 1 to question 5. And the data is given as radial distribution feeder has 8 nodes, and among which 4 nodes are of residential node, 4 nodes are of residential type load nodes, 2 nodes are of industrial load nodes, and 2 nodes are of commercial load nodes. The maximum demand of the residential, industrial, and commercial loads are 32 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, and 80 kilowatt respectively on a particular day. The total energy consumption of the feeder is 522 units. That means 522 kilowatt hour on the same day, and 20% of energy loss occurs daily due to the line ohmic loss. So they have given the individual maximum demand for the residential, industrial, and commercial load like 32 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt, and 80 kilowatt. Now in the first problem, they are asking that if the residential load consume 1/3 of total feeder consumption, find the load factor for the residential load. So for the load factor, we will find this first average demand. So first you write load factor expression. Load factor is average demand upon peak demand. So for residential load, we know the peak demand. Peak demand is given as 32 kilowatt. So this is known. If demand is known, we have to find the average demand first, then we can find the load factor. And those who are able to solve the problem, they can write the answer in the chat box. Peak demand is given 32 kilowatt. Now average demand, we will find the data. So average demand is given as 1/3 of total feeder consumption. So 1/3 of what is the total feeder consumption? That is 522 kilowatt hour. So this is unit consumption. So for the day, so we have to divide by the number of hours in a day. So it will divide 24 hours. So you will get 174 kilowatt hour on 24 hour. You will get 7.25 kilowatt. Hence, you will get the load factor as 1.25 upon 32 kilowatt. So you will get 0.2265. So B is the correct answer. You can write your answer in chat box, those who are able to solve the problem. Otherwise, how I will know that you are able to get the answer or not? I know this till assignment 2, there will be not difficulty in solving the problems, but if you practice more, then you will feel more confident in the exam. Now coming to the next problem. In the next problem, it is given that if the total connected commercial load is 800 kilowatt, find the demand factor for the commercial load. So I'm writing the demand factor expression, and you can find the demand factor for the commercial load. So it is asking about the commercial load. So demand factor expression is maximum demand upon total connected load. So what is the maximum demand for the commercial load? So the maximum demand for the commercial load is 80 kilowatt, and total connected load is given as 800 kilowatt. So it is so simple. It will come as 0.1. A is the correct answer. Here in this problem, it is asking specifically about the commercial load. If they are asking about the group, then this maximum demand we have to take as group peak demand, not sum of individual peak demand. So it is group peak demand. Mir and Rag Syam Deepak. Today, I think we have less attendance. It may be due to GATE exam. How many of you appeared in the GATE exam? I think no one. So moving forward to the next problem, and this time I will just give the expression and you will find the answer. In this problem, it is given that peak load demand of the feeder is 120 kilowatt. The peak load demand of feeder is 120 kilowatt. Find the overall diversity factor of the feeder. So how you can write the diversity factor? Diversity factor is the ratio of sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. Sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. So diversity factor is the ratio of sum of individual peak demand to the group peak demand. Now we find the answer. I have provided the expression, and just remember this expression, it will be very useful. Yes, correct. Syam, you are correct. 1.767. Very good. I got one answer. So individual peak demand for, like they are asking about diversity by feeder. So for feeder, there are three types of loads: residential load, industrial load, commercial load. For residential load, what is the maximum demand? Maximum demand is 32 kilowatt. And for industrial load, we have maximum demand of 100 kilowatt. And then for commercial load, maximum demand is 3 kilowatt. And it should be divided by group peak demand. And peak load demand of the feeder, that is group peak demand, is 120 kilowatt. So you will get diversity factor. So 212 upon 120. So it is coming as 1.767. So from here you can also say that diversity factor is less than 1, greater than 1, while coincidence factor is less than 1. Therefore, D is the correct answer. Now moving to the next problem. In this problem, if the load diversity factor and demand factor of the industrial load. So DBF. So we have defined the diversity factor as DBF because we are writing DF as for the demand factor. Therefore, we are using the notation of DVF for the diversity factor, and demand factor we are using the notation as DF. And for the industrial load diversity factor is given as 1.6, while the demand factor is given as 1 respectively. If you see the range of demand factor is always less than equal to 1. So this the maximum value of demand factor is given here. So that demand factor is given as 1 while diversity factor is given 0.6. Find the total connected industrial loads on the feeder. So based on the data, you can find uh, total connected load comes on this demand factor. So we will write the expression of demand factor. Demand factor is the ratio of maximum demand upon total connected load. So demand factor ratio of maximum demand to the total connected load. So what is the maximum demand for the industrial load? The maximum demand for the industrial load is 100 kilowatt given. So now it is very simple. There is no use of load diversity factor. The maximum demand they have provided for the industrial load as 100 kilowatt, and diversity factor is also given 1. So we can find the total industrial loads on the feeder. Therefore, total connected load is total connected load is 100 kilowatt. So B is the correct answer. It is very simple. There is no use of this diversity factor. We have to go from the positive because they're asking about the total connected industrial load. So we will just directly use the demand factor. So demand factor is the ratio of maximum demand upon total connected load. Therefore, B maximum demand of this industrial load is given 100 kilowatt. Therefore, total connected load will come as 100 kilowatt. Moving forward to the next problem. So in this problem, they are asking about the feeder loss factor. So I will write the expression of loss factor. You try. I will give you 1 or 2 minute time. Then I will solve this problem. So the notation is for loss factor we have used for LSF because LF we use for the load factor. So loss factor is the average power loss upon power load at peak load demand. So this is the expression of loss factor. So all of you please try this problem. I will give you 1 minute time. Then I will solve problem. I'm just coming 1 minute. Ajmer, Anurag, Syam, Narayan. If you have any doubt, you can ask. So how you will find the average power loss? So average power loss we will find from this data. 12% of energy loss occurs daily due to the line ohmic loss. So this is the energy loss. Therefore, we can find the average power loss by dividing it by number of hours, that is 24 hours. Those who are getting answer, you can type it on chat box. So 12% of energy loss. So 12% of total energy consumption is the energy loss due to ohmic power loss. So 12% of 522 kilowatt hour. So we have to divide by 24 hour to get the average power loss. So it will come as 2.61 kilowatt. Now we have to find the power load at peak load demand. Power loss. Sorry, here I have written mistake. This one is power loss at peak load demand. Now power loss at peak load demand will be power loss at peak demand. The feed energy loss during peak demand they have provided as 13 kilowatt hour. So energy loss they have provided during peak demand is 13 kilowatt hour. And this peak demand sustains for 15 minutes. So we can find this average of this energy loss during peak demand. So they have given the energy and we have to find the power. So the energy is given as 13 kilowatt hour. And this energy calculation done for the how many number of hours, that is for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes if you convert in hour, then it will be 0.025 hour. So 15 minutes equal to 1 by 4, 1/4 of hour. So you will get 52 kilowatt. Hence you will find the loss factor as 2.61 upon 52. So the answer is 0.0502. So if you see, the approximate answer is A, 0.05. So the first part of this tutorial 2 is completed. I think one of you responded. Yes, D. Sorry, D is not correct answer. Syam, it is 0.05. So you can see how I have founded this loss factor. Now coming to the next problem. So again, this is the common data for question 6 to question 10. So there are three different consumers connected to a feeder. The daily demands of three consumers are given below. So there are three consumers, consumer 1, consumer 2, consumer 3, and for different type slots, how much they have, their consumption is given here. So 12 midnight to 8 a.m., consumer 1 low load, consumer 2 2000 watt, consumer 3 no load, and so on. You can see for the energy consumption for different consumers at a different time instant. Now they are asking about the find the load factor of the consumer 2. So how you will find the load factor of the consumer 2? So I am writing the expression. You just try yourself. Those who are able to get the answer, you can respond. So load factor is the ratio of average demand to the demand. They are asking about the consumer too. So we have to deal with this second table only, this second column only. So first find the average demand, then find the peak demand. Peak demand is given is in the table only, but for average demand you have to calculate its average based on the energy consumption for the 24 hour. So I have one query. Are you able to access the previous year previous session recording and the slide? Are you able to access the previous session recording and the slides? If anyone has problem in that, I can just help you. B is right answer. Syam. Yes, correct. B is the correct answer. Syam, very good. So I have one query that are you able to access the previous session recording and this slides? Nayan, you are also correct. Very good. If anyone if anyone is not able to access this recording or the slides, please tell me. Anurag, Syam, anyone?
I didn't check that. Where we have to check that? Slides and recordings, sir.
Okay. So first you go to SWAYAM portal.
Okay.
And this is very useful because this session recording is another thing, and there also you will get this solution like this assignment 1 and assignment 2 after due date they will upload the TA will upload the solution, so you can also check there only in the portal. So here it is in the below you can see that.
Okay, problem solving session, January 2025.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you can see this YouTube link and presentation folder link.
Okay.
And there is another TA, Shantan. For that also you can also access. And in this portal only you can, there is another question answer. Here you can ask some question also. If you have any doubt, then here miss all regular TA and this PMRF TA, everyone can access. So you have better clarification on any question.
Okay.
Coming to this problem. So
I have
first,
doubt on question number 5, sir. Can you please check again or
yes,
yeah?
tell me.
Just 1 minute. This is at power loss at peak load demand 13 divided by 0.25. It's 15 minutes or no 0.25 hours.
So how will 15 minute, how will you get 15 by 60?
Okay, okay, okay.
Like that. We have
Okay.
converted into hour, right?
Right, right. Right.
So, okay. So this loss factor, first we will find this average demand. So for average demand, we first find the unit consumption, units consumed during 24 hour. So for consumer to 200 watt from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. So it is 200 watt. You can also, how you can write 0.2 into 8 hours. Anurag, you can turn off your mic. Please turn off your mic.
Yes, sir.
Please turn off your mic, those whose mic is turned off. So 200 watt for 8 hours and no load for 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it is 0 watt, and 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. means how much? How much it is? 6 hours. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So 6 hours. And then 1000 watt, that means 1 kilowatt for 2 to 4 p.m. So 1 to 2 plus no load. No load for 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. That means for 6 hours again. And 200 watt for 10 p.m. to midnight. That means 2 hours. So you will get 1.6 plus 2 plus 0.4. So it is 4 kilowatt hour. So unit consumption during 24 hours is 4 kilowatt hour. Now we can find the average demand. Average demand will be units consumed upon time in hours. So what is the time for the unit consumption given? So unit consumed is 4 kilowatt hour. while time in hours it is given as 24 hours. So it will give you 0.167 kilowatt. Now peak demand is how much? Peak demand for the consumer 2, peak demand for the consumer 2 is 1000 watt. So it is 1 kilowatt. Therefore, load factor is 0.167 upon 1.167. Be the correct answer. So they are very simple problems. Nothing is, you don't have to put your mind. You have to just little bit do calculation and just remember the expression. If you know the expression, you can easily solve the problems. There is no use of mind. So let us come to the next problem. Find the feeder coincidence factor. Coincidence factor is the reciprocal of diversity factor. So I'm just writing first the expression and you can use the expression. So they are asking about the coincidence factor. Coincidence factor is reciprocal of diversity factor. And diversity factor is sum of individual peak demand sum of individual peak demand on group peak demand. Sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. So in this, you have to find the group peak demand. So how you find this group peak demand? So for the different time instant, we have to find the group peak demand. So let us make the another column where we do the summation. So for 12 midnight to 8 a.m., we can see that if you do sum up, then it will come at 2200 watt. So it is 200 watt for sum will come as 200 watt. Now for 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., the sum is 800 watt. 600 watt plus 200 watt. So 800 watt. Now for 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., the sum is 200 plus 1000 plus 1200. So 2200 plus 200, that is 2400 watt. And for 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., 800 watt plus no load, that means 800 watt. And for 10 p.m. to midnight, no load 0 watt, 200 watt plus 200 watt, that means 400 watt. Now I think you can solve this problem. And here I can also write some individual peak demand. So for the consumer one, you can write P1 max. P1 max is 800 watt. And P2 max is 1000 watt, and P3 max you will get as 1200 watt. Now I provided the data, just find the diversity factor, and then we will find the coincidence factor. So can anyone tell what is the diversity factor? What is the purpose and used to calculate this feeder coincidence factor? Yes, for this is the course name is Operation and Planning of Power Distribution System. So these factors help in planning of uh, planning to structure the power distribution. Like what is the significance of coincidence factor? If you see what is its significance, means like diversity factor, sum of individual peak demand and group peak demand. This diversity factor is always greater than 1, and suppose it is its value is very high. So if its value is very high, that means it is your load is, means here you are characterizing the load type, means your load is so much diversified. So from the name you can suggest that diversity factor means if it is its value is too large, then your load is too much diversified, means it is not matching with the group peak demand. Like this sum of individual peak demand is very higher in comparison to group peak demand. That means your load type, your load correct means here this first module is only load modeling. So this is very diversity type of load. The feeder, the loads connected to that feeder is very diversified. If it is having more value, so that is the significance of diversity factor. And coincidence factor, if it is close to 1, then it means that means like individual peak demand and group peak demand are coinciding to each other, means like they are not that much difference. And if its value is very low, like 0.2 0.3, then they are not coinciding in nature, means individual peak demands are very uh, they are they are of large difference in individual sum of individual peak demand and group peak demand. So this is for load modeling. So this diversity factor and coincidence factor, you can get the idea from its name only. Diversity factor means how your load is diversified, and coincidence factor means how they are coincident uh, to the individual peak demands with the aggregate peak demand. Yes, correct. So diversity factor you got 9 1.25. Very good. It is the correct one. We study these factors to just see how we model the load. How we characterize the load, how we do modeling of load. So sum of individual peak demand. So P1 max is 0.8 kilowatt and P2 max is 1 kilowatt plus, and P3 max is 1.2 kilowatt, and group peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt because this one is highest. So from here you will get the group peak demand, that is 1.2.4 kilowatt. So you will get the 3 upon 2.4, you will get 1.25. So this is diversity factor. Now we can find the coincidence factor. Coincidence factor is reciprocal of diversity factor. So it is very important. Coincidence is reciprocal diversity factor. So 1 upon 1.25 is 0.8. So D is the correct answer. So Abdul, are you able to know the significance of coincidence factor and diversity factor? Means this coincidence factor we are seeing to just see the load behavior. Okay, thank you. So coming to the next problem, determine the load factor of the feeder. So how you can find the load factor of the feeder? So first write the load factor expression. Load factor is the ratio of average demand upon peak demand. Average demand upon peak demand. So how you can find the average demand? The unit consumption in unit to 24 hours. So unit consumed during 24 hours. We first find here we have find summation is 0.2 kilowatt. Here we have find 0.8 kilowatt. Here we have found 2.4 kilowatt. Here we got summation is 0.8 kilowatt, and here we got 0.4 kilowatt. So 0.2 kilowatt is for 8 hours and 0.8 kilowatt is for 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. That means 6 hours, and 2.4 kilowatt is for 2 hours, and 0.8 kilowatt is for 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. That is for 6 hours, and then 0.4 kilowatt to 10 p.m. to midnight, that is for 2 hours. So you will get 16.8 kilowatt hour. So this we got units consumed 20 during 24 hours. Now we can find the average demand. Average demand is units consumed upon number of hours. Units consumed is 16.8 kilowatt hour. Time in hours is 24 hours. That is 0.7 kilowatt. So this we got average demand. Now peak demand. Peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. That is happening at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So therefore, we can easily find load factor. Load factor is 0.7 kilowatt upon peak demand. Peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. Point 2.4. So we'll get 0.29167. So here is the correct answer. 0.291. How many of you got this answer? Okay, okay, Nayan, very good. So one of you got the answer. Now let us come to the next problem that is little bit tricky. And in this assignment, in the current assignment, they have not asked this type of problem. So here in this problem, you have to find the contribution factor for consumer one. So here I have discussed that how to find the contribution factor from the table, and there are two steps. So I'm just writing the step and I just want you to give the answer. Two steps for calculation of contribution factor. The first step is that find out the time instant. Find out the time instant at which group peak demand is occurring. Group peak demand is same as aggregate peak demand. It is same as coincident peak demand. So all are having the same name. Group peak demand, aggregate peak demand, or coincident peak demand. So after finding the group peak demand, you have to apply the expression. And the formula is class contribution factor is the ratio of class demand at time of system peak, class demand at time of system peak upon class non coincident peak demand. Means class individual peak demand. Class non coincidence maximum demand or peak demand. So I have given you the hint. You just try. I will give you 30 second or 1 minute. You can type your answer in the chat box. Those who are able to get the answer, you can type to us in chat box. Let me give you another hint also. So in this, you need to know the time instant at which group peak demand is occurring. So let me solve this first step. So we have to find the time instant at which group peak demand is occurring. So we have to find the of summation of the demand for the different time instant. So for this, we are getting zero point 0.2 kilowatt, and for this, we are getting 0.8 kilowatt. For this, 2200 plus 200, that means 2.4 kilowatt. And for this, we are getting 0.8 kilowatt. And for this, we are getting 0.4 kilowatt. Now, if you see this group peak demand is happening at group peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. This one, 2.4 kilowatt. So group peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. Our aggregate peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. Our coincident peak demand is 2.4 kilowatt. And in the first step, they are telling to you have to find out the time instant at which group peak demand is occurring. So time instant is 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So this is the time instant at which the group peak demand is happening, at which group peak demand is occurring. So I have solved this first part. Now you apply the expression, you get the answer. So solution you can write for the first part. It is 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now you can find the class contribution factor. That is, you can find the class contribution factor. And it is asking for consumer one. So you can write C1. So C1, tell me what will be the numerator? Class demand at time of system peak. So anyone can type your answer in the chat box. So class demand at time of system peak. So numerator will be what? I want to get the answer from you. So it is asking that class demand at time of system peak. So what is the class demand at time of system peak? Anyone know the answer? I think you are virtually present. No one is attentive. Syam, okay, so you have given the answer. Syam has given answer as B. Uh, no, it is incorrect. B is not correct. 9200. Yes. Yes. So correct. I'm asking that only thing. So for class demand time system peak, it is 200 watt. So it is 200 watt. Now class known consider maximum demand. So what is the maximum demand for consumer one? Maximum demand for consumer one is this one. T1 max is 800 watt. That's it. So you have to divide by 800 watt. So you will get 1.4. So this contribution factor of consumer one is 0.25. That means C is the correct answer. Any doubt? Yes, Abdul, you are correct. Answer is 2.25. Very good. Now we can move to the last problem today's session. So here they are asking about the load diversity of the feeder. So now I am again writing the expression, and you just with the help of the expression you can type your answer in the chat box. So load diversity is what? Load diversity is sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. So load diversity is individual peak demand. You can write 1 from 1 to n. So this one is the expression sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. So what is the correct answer? So again, I am giving you a hint. So P1 max is zero point 0.8 kilowatt. P1 max is 0.8 kilowatt. P2 max is 1 kilowatt, and P3 max is 1.2 kilowatt, and P group max is 2.4 kilowatt. So load diversity will be 0.8 plus 1 plus 1.2. Group maximum is 2.4. So 3 minus 2.4, that means 0.6 kilowatt is the answer. 0.6 kilowatt means 600 watt is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Anyone got this answer? Yes, Syam, you are correct. Load diversity factor, as I can remember, sum of individual peak demand upon maximum demand of the feeder. Yeah, it is now not asking factor. It is asking about the load diversity only. So it is not asking factor. It is asking about the load diversity of feeder. And if they are asking factor, then you will get answer in the fraction. So this is minor difference. I think I have written down in the this only. The diversity factor, that is low diversity factor means you have to take the fraction, you have to take the fraction, and this low diversity only, there is no factor term comes, then you have to do the subtraction. That is only minor difference. Factor comes, then you have to take the this sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand, while low diversity means there is no fraction and it is the subtraction of sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. This is subtraction of numerator and denominator. That's it. So we have solved assignment. We have solved the previous year assignment. We have solved the previous year assignment, and also you got the idea from the options. If the options given in what, then it definitely that it is subtraction only. And if the values are so small, like diversity factor, it is greater than 1, but it is like very smaller value, 1.25, 1.235 or 2 or 2.5. From there you can also get the idea. So we have solved the previous assignment. Now we can quickly revise the assignment for 2023 and 2022. And I have already solved this assignment in the last year tutorial session, and in the previous and in 2023 also for 2022 courses. So I have already solved this last before this I have solved this assignment for 23 and 22, and currently I have solved the assignment for 2024. So you can quickly go through it, and just if you have doubt, you can ask me. I will just quickly go through. It is already solved, and you can just get idea. Means it is similar type problem what we have solved till now. And at the end, I will just give you idea about utilization factor and plant capacity factor. Here we will get all previous assignments. So it is not accessible to you because those who have once enrolled in that assignment in that course, they can only access. Like if you have enrolled last year course, then you can access only. You can understand in that way. Like you have enrolled this time operation planning of power distribution system, you can access all over your lifetime. Means you can access any time. Means till with your email ID. But since you have not enrolled last year or in the subsequently last year, so you cannot access that course. Okay. Nayan, problem may be similar, but this is helpful for exam. Problem is very much similar, and just quickly go through it so that you will get confidence. I means all types of problem will be that only, and this will be helpful for, this will boost up your confidence. And in this assignment, I think some problems are based on this plant utilization capacity factor. So I have added in the last for this PDF, for these slides, I have added them utilization factor and capacity factor in the last. And reserve capacity, how you can find the reserve capacity, you can find in the last of this PDF, last of these slides. So for 23 session, the first problem is that again they they have different types of customers. They have say 5 customers, and their individual peak demand are given, and the corresponding contribution factor corresponding contribution factor is also given. Total connected load of this customer is 50 kilowatt. So the first they're asking what the peak load demand of the feeder. The peak load demand of the feeder, this expression I have just given in the beginning. So if peak demand is given and individual peak demand is given, and how you can get the relation between the aggregate peak demand and the individual peak demand using the contribution factor. So the expression is this one, and in this problem, this expression has been used. So this expression is also important. So here I have put all the contribution factor and this aggregate peak demand, and you will get the answer as 6.45 kilowatt. Now in the second problem, they have find the demand. They have asked the demand factor of feeder. The demand factor is maximum demand upon total connected load. So maximum demand of the feeder is 6.45 kilowatt. How you got this one 6.45 kilowatt? We got from the previous problem. So in the previous problem, we have found the maximum demand is 6.45 kilowatt. Six 0.45 kilowatt is P group max we found from the first problem. So found from question 1. So total connected load is 50 kilowatt. It is given the total connected load of this customer is 50 kilowatt. So you can find the demand factor. Now the third problem is load diversity factor. So it is asking about diversity. So diversity factor. So factor means it is the fraction. So sum of individual peak demand upon the group peak demand. So load diversity factor is sum of individual peak demand upon group peak demand. Individual peak demand is 3 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt, 9 kilowatt. So it will come as 26 kilowatt. And group peak demand we have found from the first problem. It is 6.45 kilowatt. So it is coming at 4.031. And if anyone is asking about the load diversity, that means sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. So load diversity factor and load diversity is different. So just be careful. So load diversity is sum of individual peak demand minus group peak demand. Now coming to the coincidence factor of the feeder. Coincidence factor is nothing but is the reciprocal of diversity factor. So we have already found the diversity factor. So diversity factor is 4.031. So coincidence factor is 0.248. The next problem, if the feeder consumes 100 units of energy in a day, determine the daily load factor for the feeder. So daily load factor is daily energy consumed upon 24. We will get the average demand and then divided by peak demand. So average demand is coming as 1000 kilowatt hour upon 24 hour, and it is group peak demand is 6.45 kilowatt. So you will get 0.646 as the answer. Now the next problem. In the next problem, they are asking about the power loss during peak demand. So it is asking, we use this loss factor. Loss factor, we know that average power loss upon power loss at peak load demand. So average power loss we can find from the unit consumption. So it is given at the 8% daily loss of energy. So 8% of unit consumption, 8% of uh, average power is 0.33 kilowatt, and power loss at peak load, power loss at we have to found, and this loss factor is given as 0.5. So this loss factor is given as 0.5. From this loss factor, we can find the power loss at peak load demand, that is coming as 0.67. Next problem, they are asking about the energy loss during demand hour. So we have found this power loss. So it is telling that this sustains for half an hour. Half an hour means it is 0.5 hour. So you multiply with power with the number of hours. So you will get the energy loss during peak demand hour 0.34 kilowatt hour. Now this is the similar problem where we have found this contribution factor. How we can find the contribution factor from the table. So there are different types of load: lighting load, commercial load, residential load. And then they are asking about the load factor for lighting load. So load factor lighting load, how will you find this unit consumption upon time in hours? So we will get the average demand and then peak demand for the lighting load is given. So we can find the load factor. And then we can find the demand factor residential load, the maximum demand of total connected load. From the table, we can find the maximum demand at 1.2 1200 kilowatt. Total connected load is 2250 kilowatt. So it is provided in the question only. So you will get the demand factor. Now in this problem, whatever we have solved from the table, how you can find the contribution factor. So contribution factor, we have to first find the class demand at the system peak at with the time duration for the system peak is happening. So we found this happening at this stand 5 p.m. to 5:59 p.m. So at that time for commercial load, this is happening. The demand is 1400 kilowatt. So 14 kilowatt upon this maximum demand is also 14 kilowatt for this commercial load. So it is contribution factor for commercial load is 1.0. Similarly, you can find this contribution factor for lightning load, and you can also find the contribution factor for residential type load. So this is for assignment 2023. And you can also verify using this formula. We know this formula, this aggregate peak demand equal to contribution factor and summation of contribution factor and the individual peak demand. So you can apply this expression after finding this contribution factor of different type of loads. You will get verified. So I have also verified, and in the summary I have written the steps, means how you can find the contribution factor for different type of loads from the table. So this is for assignment 2023. Now coming to the, still here any doubt you can ask. Otherwise I will move to the 2022 assignment problems. Okay, so coming to this last part. So here common data problem for question 1 to I think 5. So they are given this for different types of customers. There are different load demands are given, peak load demands and total connected load is given, and coincidence factor is given. So you have to find the peak demand of feeder. So peak demand of feeder you can find from this data. Since coincidence factor is given as 0.7, so we can find this diversity factor, and from the diversity factor expression you can find the group peak demand. So group peak demand means you can find the peak demand for the feeder, because all the customers are connected through this feeder only. So that is group peak demand or the peak demand for the feeder. So it is coming at 280 kilowatt. Now second problem, that find the demand factor of the feeder. So demand factor is maximum demand upon total connected load. So maximum demand we have found 280 kilowatt. Total connected load is given in the problem is total load is given as 1000 kilowatt. So we will get 0.28 as the answer. Now next problem, load diversity of the feeder. Load diversity is nothing but it is the sum of it is subtraction of sum of individual peak demand and group peak demand. So sum of individual peak demand you can find 400, it is coming as 400 kilowatt, and group peak demand is coming as we have calculated 280 kilowatt, so it will be 120 kilowatt. Now the diversity factor is the reciprocal of coincidence factor. Coincidence factor is given in the problem, so it will be 1.428. So the next problem, in the next problem they have given the radial distribution feeder having 10 nodes, and the total energy consumption of the feeder is 5000 kilowatt hour. Real load factor is 0.7. So they're asking about the peak load demand. So peak load demand we can find the expression from the load factor. So average, first we have to find the average demand. So average demand is the unit consumption upon number of hours. So 5000 kilowatt hour upon 24 hour. Then load factor is given as 0.75. So from there we can find the peak demand. This is coming at 277.78 kilowatt. So the for 6 to 10 problem. So in this problem they are asking, there are two residential customers and having different types of load variation, and they in the data they are given the daily energy consumption for customer 1 and customer 2. and this daily load factor for the customer one is also given. They are asking about the peak demand of air conditioning system of customer one. So load factor is given as 0.4. Average demand we can find the from the unit consumption for customer 12 kilowatt hour. So upon 24 hours, so peak demand you can find from all these data. You will get as 1.25 kilowatt. Now, similarly, you can find the peak demand for the customer two. In this average data, you can find from the unit consumption upon number of hours, and load factor for customer two is given as 0.5. So peak demand for the customer two is coming as 0.833 kilowatt. The next, in that problem, diversity factor is given, and group peak demand due to condition of system you have to find. Sum of individual peak demand we can find. Since in question 6 and question 7, we have found the individual peak demand for customer and customer two. So for customer one, it is coming as 1.2 kilowatt to 5 kilowatt, and for customer two, it is coming as 0.83 kilowatt. And you have to find the group peak demand, and this diversity factor is also given. So group peak demand is 1.39 kilowatt. Now they have asked about the contribution factor of customer two. Since the contribution factor of customer one is given 0.5, and we also know the group peak demand, we also know that individual peak demand, and from this expression you can find the contribution factor of customer two. Now they are asking about the loss factor. So how we can find the loss, average power loss? So they have given the energy loss. So energy loss will be divided by number of hours. So we'll get the average power loss. It is coming in 208.33 kilowatt. Now this power loss at a peak load demand. Peak load at peak load demand, this is given as 1000 kilowatt hour, and it is sustaining for half an hour. So you have to divide by half an hour. So you have divided by 1000 kilowatt hour by 0.5 hours. So it will coming at 2000 kilowatt. So this is power loss at peak load demand. So we can get the loss factor, average power loss upon power loss at peak load demand. So it is coming at 0.104. So this is for last 3-year assignment. Now in this current assignment, they have asked question on this plant factor and utilization factor. So I have included one question based on this. So utilization factor is nothing but it is the maximum demand system upon rated system capacity. And utilization factor is same as demand factor. So if you see demand factor expression, it is the maximum demand upon total connected load. So you can say in this way also that it is with respect to power station. Utilization factor is with respect to power station, where we are seeing the utilization of a power station. While this demand factor we can see with respect to load side. So it is the demand for the maximum demand total connected load. So it is both are having the similar characteristics, similar type of expression. So let us use this expression. So here in this problem, they are given this plant capacity factor as 0.5. They are asking about total daily energy produced. So and load factor is also given. So first from the load factor we can find the average demand, and from the average demand we can find the daily energy produced by multiplying with 24 number of hours. Now we have to find the installed capacity. So we know that in plant factor this maximum plant rating comes. So maximum plant rating is nothing but it is only the installed capacity. So the maximum plant rating is the installed capacity. So we have to find the maximum plant rating. So plant factor, how we can find this? Since plant factor is the maximum plant factor, I have not written the expression. So plant factor is actual energy produced upon maximum plant rating into T. So the energy produced by the plant is 1296 megawatt hour. So maximum plant rating we can find with this plant factor. Now it is asking about the reserve capacity of plant. So reserve capacity is nothing but a subtraction of installed capacity and peak demand. So we will get 18 megawatt hour, and utilization factor is the maximum demand system rated system capacity. So maximum demand is given as 90 megawatt, and we have found this installed capacity or rated system capacity as 108 megawatt. So you have to divide by this rated system capacity or maximum plant rating or installed capacity. So it's coming as 0.833. So this is all for today's session. I hope you will able to solve the current assignment. Anurag, Syam, and Abdul. If you are having doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, we will stop this today's session and we will meet on the next Sunday. Okay, Abdul, Nayan, thank you all for attending this session and we will meet on the next Sunday. Now I am closing this session. Thank you all. Yes, Syam. I am closing this today's session. We will meet on the next Sunday.